This is day 4 of my autobiography, or you can say the 4th video. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and start right in. All the while, my high school boyfriend, whom I thought I loved when I really had no idea of the concept, kept pushing me for sex and or sexual encounters. It scared me silent. I would always tell him no with anything and everything he asked of me. The only exposure I had of intimacy was dirty, ugly, filthy, and felt horribly wrong. But I thought I loved him. It felt like love in my heart, yet I was so scared to be alone with him. So I did what any teenager would do and lied to him. I would tell him that my parents wouldn't let me go out. Then he'd see me out partying with my friends. This was all to avoid any occasion of being alone with him. After some time, it led him to think that I didn't like him, so he broke up with me. I had subconsciously built a wall around me. He begged me to let him through, but I just couldn't tell anyone of the abuses I had suffered. This wall that I thought was protecting me was actually suffocating me from anyone who truly cared about me. The sexual pressures felt so great when I was in high school. Everybody does it was an absolute norm. And with all the abuse from as early on as I could remember, I chose to get out of my body and mind. It was far too painful to feel. Marijuana and sometimes alcohol were my go-to floaters. They would numb any pain and make me feel strong and more invincible rather than weak and vulnerable. When I was really drunk and high, I lost my most sacred virginity. Scroll down a minute. I said yes, but as he started, it hurt, and I yelled and screamed for him to stop. This time my yells and screams hit deafened ears. My strength was no match for his, yet I still tried to push him off with all my might, but it didn't matter. He won the battle. I felt so ashamed and dirty. What was wrong with me? When I got home, I felt so guilty that I told my parents. However, I didn't tell them that I fought and yelled for him to stop. All my Catholic father knew was that I had consented to sex in a drunken high state. I must have still been in shock not to tell him the whole truth. Not only shocked, but again I was ashamed, tarnished, just a piece of dirty garbage that I didn't even like to look at. My father proceeded to paddle me with a paddle he had made out of wood, with a handle and all. I lost count at 50 strikes and had bruises on my behind and up and down my legs for over a month. I remember even having to lie and tell him I drank a beer at a party I had attended when I didn't, because he wouldn't stop trying to beat the truth out of me. Yes, his Italian temper had gotten the better of him. However, he did apologize years later, admitting his wrongdoing, which was a miracle in itself, if you were to know my stubborn, full-blooded Italian father. God made it easy for me to forgive those years later. Simply, his admission of wrongdoing validated what I knew in my heart to be true. It's important to know that later in life, my earthly father, whom I loved dearly, became my spiritual director, and he's the one that brought me into the faith. Through my later years, I had grown to understand who he was as an individual and depend on him. Though he never lost his stubbornness, he was always there for me, and I miss that dearly. I'll scroll down a little bit more. What upset me even further was when my boyfriend found out about losing my most sacred virginity. He was dating someone else at that time, but my heart still belonged to him. When he confronted me with this news, I informed him that I was raped. I didn't think it mattered much. I don't even think that he believed me. Hurt, shattered, worn out, and directionless, I turned to my continued drugs of choice and alcohol. It's important to know that years later, the man whom I consented sex to while highly intoxicated, I was high too, then tried to fight him off with all my might while yelling and screaming. He apologized with tear-filled eyes. Again, it was easy for me to forgive, as I thought it was partially my fault. In addition, I quote-unquote knew at that time that there was something seriously wrong with me. Otherwise, why would so many different people abuse and mistreat me and my body? I truly thought that somehow I deserved to be treated badly. That is number 4, and we'll go on to number 5 next segment. God bless. Bye.